this is not the matchup Jeskai Creativity wanted to see. You know,
True.
you
That's
make it
very
to
true.
you make it to the top 8. There's a certain amount of luck in any given game, as we saw. Like that land pocket was brutal, but
Yeah.
there's also some luck in the matchups, and this one was a rough one. So it is what it is. That said, we're gonna pop back into a game. It looks like it is already in play, and heavens to Murgatroyd, John has a Sarah's Emissary in play, presumably protection from creatures. We can't confirm that, but that doesn't matter.
Ooh.
Okay, no. Well,
Yeah, Phyrexian Tower is going to save that that Cauldron Familiar from exile.
yeah,
My
and
goodness, so many triggers.
this is, and sure enough, looks like this is going to be the game. Not because damage was dealt, folks. Protection from creatures, damage is reduced to 0. This is something else. This is what we affectionately refer to as life loss. Very different. You can be protected all day long from damage. You are not protected from life loss. So that we saw a pretty quick 2-0 from the control deck there. It's true. We are now moving into Teruteru versus John. Teruteru taking down game 1, folks. That was just game 1.
And usually when Sarah's Emissary hits the field, it tends to, Sarah's Emissary has a tendency to stop games kind of dead in their tracks. But against this deck where life loss is available, I mean, I'll always remember when I was first starting out and somebody explained the difference between damage and life loss to me. I believe Tendrils of Agony was involved. And it was one of those moments where it's like, really? It really works like that? Like, all this stuff that I have that prevents damage just does nothing here? Like, yeah, no, it just doesn't. It's like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to account for that.
Yeah. And
But
with the Cauldron Familiar, it is Cauldron Familiar and Meathook Massacre, it is life loss. So, yeah.
only so much can be done. It is notable, right, folks, that this is another creativity deck over there. Is it not? I believe.
Yes, it is. This is the other Jeskai Creativity deck.
All right.
Well, and clearly in that game, the Creativity deck had popped off. It had established what it was trying to establish, and the Golgari Food deck was able to overcome that, which is pretty notable and not something that you see every day. So it's really a testament to how resilient this deck is and just, well, I mean, it's a powerful deck. There's no question about it.
It wins on a whole bunch of different axes.
Mhm.
Axi?
I think it's Axes. I think you had, yeah.
I think it's axes.
I think it's
Whatever.
Axes. I could be
It
mistaken. I
comes
often
at
am.
you from various angles, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's attacking with an 11/11 squirrel. Other times, it doesn't attack at all. Then still other times yet, Luris is, reoccurring things you've already destroyed. Bringing back those squirrels again, things like that, and it can really just make things challenging. It can absolutely win without the graveyard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Graveyard is plan A, but it doesn't need it in order to pull it off. Yeah.
All right. Looking at this hand, no black mana.
No black mana, and those look like, if I'm not mistaken, 2 Colony Gardens. So they would enter the battlefield tapped and create the 0/1 plant token. Which, with a Village Rites and a Deadly Dispute in hand, if there was only that darn black mana source, this would be looking really good.
Yeah, and you've also got the destroy target enchantment werewolf there.
Yep,
But sure enough,
Liberator, yes.
Teruteru does agree with us. It's just too sketchy without that black source. Now this one, no oven, which is important, but this looks serviceable to me, and I think Teruteru apparently agrees. Keeps 6.
Yeah, interestingly enough, letting the squirrel go, but then drawing into a fresh one. So, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. Now, do you start on the? Yeah, I was gonna say, do you start on the squirrel or something, or you wait so you can have Village Rites up? And Teruteru apparently decides to wait.
Yeah, no hesitation. Yeah, and to be honest, I probably would have thrown the squirrel out there and regretted it because of a spike field hazard or something like that from the other side. Is probably how I would have played it. I'll own that. And now here comes Trail of Crumbs, which is, John has 2 red mana sources, and notably that Trail of Crumbs can't be burnt, so that's handy.
It's true. It's true. Now, for those of you who are curious, we've talked some about Jeskai Creativity, but what is that? Well, there is
Oh,
no card Jeskai Creativity. Jeskai is the color scheme. That's red, white, and blue. Then Creativity is a card. Indomitable Creativity, red, 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 X. Destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until an artifact or creature card is revealed, and then you get to put that on, right? So the idea is they pay red, 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 and 1, and destroy, let's say, one of those little 0/3 crab tokens, and they go until they find a creature. No big deal. They destroyed a creature, they get a creature back. Graham, is the creature they get back equivalent to the 0/3 crab?
Oh my goodness, no. Yeah, absolutely not. Because the creatures that they have in there are Sarah's Emissary, which give you and all your creatures, or, protection, or all your permanents, if I'm not mistaken, protection from a card type. That can be instant sorcery creature, as it often is. They also have cards like Ulamog in there. If I have an opportunity to trade a 0/3 crab token for a 10/10 indestructible that can mill 20 cards into exile for my opponent for free, I'm pretty happy with that trade. I'm gonna make that all day.
For sure.
Yeah, so it's quite a powerful setup, quite a powerful card. All right. So here we have the Colony Gardens entering the battlefield now, creating that 0/1, and there's that 0/3 crab token. John has 2 cards left in hand. We don't have an opportunity to see what those are, but if one of those is Creativity, we might see some fireworks next turn. Ooh, but speaking of, there goes the Witch's Oven. That's a pretty powerful piece of the puzzle here for Teruteru.
For sure. Sorry, folks. I had to notify my channel that I'm not streaming tonight because I'm streaming tonight. And apparently there were a bunch of people sitting in my chat sending me whispers like, why aren't you here?
Well, come on over to the PizzaBox. Yeah.
That's what I told them, darn it.
Love it.
It doesn't matter how many times you announce things, folks. Not everybody's going to be in there at the same time. So fear not. We're directing them this direction. Sorry.
Perfect. No, it's all good. All right. No, and isn't it great when you like, I don't know if you've had this happen before, but I know I do from time to time when I get up in the morning getting ready to stream, and there are people in my chat that beat me there. It makes me so happy every time.
100%.
Yeah, it's the best. All right. Anyway, that's little streamer. A little softy streamer moment there for you, everybody. Like, oh, they like me. Anyway,
Well, that is the feeling. That is
right?
the feeling. For the first time in my life, people actually want to see me. It's kind of nice.
It's great.
So,
It's,
little inside baseball there for you folks. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway,
Just like we talked about, though, there is one of those little piddly 0/3 crab.
They're gonna hit Creativity twice, grabbing up Ulamog and a Hullbreaker Horror. Yeah, for 2 treasure tokens. Again, a trade I would make all day, every day.
Yeah, would you consider that good? Is that a good turn?
I think that was pretty good. I'd say that was all right. Yeah. Teruteru going for the concede button. Seriously considering it.
Yeah.
Because the Mortality Spear can deal with the Hullbreaker Horror, but it can't deal with Ulamog.
Yeah, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Ulamog, a very special kind of nasty. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, is a 10 mana colorless creature that is a 10/10 indestructible. Okay? All of these destroy effects, not very effective when it's indestructible, right? Then if you cast it, you get to exile 2 things, but John, not concerned about the exiling part. They're not casting it. They're just putting it into play. But there is another really interesting line of text on Ulamog that says, whenever it attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. It does not say when Ulamog deals damage to a player. Exile the, no. Attacks. So you can chump it all day long, never take the 10. You will still lose the video game.
Yeah, absolutely. You usually can, your deck can often survive, one, sometimes if it's early in the game, like in this situation, 2 attacks from Ulamog. But if you don't have an answer, if you don't have some way to bounce Ulamog back to the opponent's hand or exile it, I mean, to your point, I mean, Culture Familiar does a phenomenal job of chump blocking, but chump blocking just isn't enough against Ulamog.
Exactly. And I think it's also relevant that you are, as you said, on a clock, and the Golgari food deck wants to grind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to typically kill you in just 1 turn where you go from 20 to 0. That's not the thing. You're going to lose a couple life here, and it's not going to be a big deal. They're going to attack you with a 1/1, and and you're gonna lose a couple of life, and it's not a big deal. But then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm at 11. It's becoming a big deal, and then you're at 8, and it's a really big deal, and then and you gain 5 life, yay, and then you lose a couple more, and like they want to grind you down that way. If they have to just win in 2 or 3 turns, it's going to be a tough ask. And
Absolutely. I mean, you do have those turns when you have 2 11/11 squirrels swinging in. Like, it can happen, but
it
it's
can
not.
happen. It absolutely can.
But it's definitely not what that deck is trying to do. Ooh, the turn 1 Thoughtseize is fantastic, but there are 2 Indomitable Creativities in hand. So instead, they decided to go for the Magma Opus, because the Magma Opus was the treasure generator that was going to create the token that the creativity needs in order to operate.
Yeah, it's true. The problem with that is, it's like there are also what is that other thing?
The Anger of the Gods is the other card that's in their hand.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you're dealing with a bunch of really, really small creatures, you want them to come back. And the exiling is just so tough. Now, admittedly, again, Teruteru, I think they were absolutely priced into taking the treasure generator, keeping them off of just another turn 4 combo situation or whatever. But this is not good news. This is not good news at all.
No, that's one of those moments where if I was in Teruteru's position, granted, this is top 8 of a Pro Tour qualifying tournament, you play it out. If I was on the ladder and I thought see somebody and I see that hand, I might just scoop it up. I'll be honest.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that John has a killer hand here. And
Yeah.
I think the Magma Opus was the right call, but oof, it is not ideal. And they're gonna hit a land drop off of the Expressive Iteration.
All right.
The Shaman Gas right away.
Yeah, just not even bothering. Get that thing out of here. Draw some more cards. Hey, how do you feel about another couple of 1 and 2 toughness creatures?
A couple other small bodies at this moment. I'm not loving it. Yeah.
Admittedly, the squirrel can get big, right?
Yes.
That is a huge boon, and it does get bigger when creatures are sacrificed and when artifacts are sacrificed. So it's true. The squirrel actually, being a little facetious here for the sake of, lighthearted trolling or whatever, but
Sure.
like it can grow, and it likely will, out of range of the Anger of the Gods. Is it going to be enough? We'll find out. There is no cat yet. The oven, very important, very important. There's no cat yet.
Well, and as long as the oven is down, the cat is going to be able to dodge that Anger of the Gods nicely.
It's true. Well, and there is going to be some amount of saving creatures and stocking up food as well, right?
Absolutely. And here comes the hard evidence. John notably only kept a single card there. So because Valakut Awakening did fire, we no longer get to see what cards are there because we have no way of knowing which ones were kept. Therefore, Arena conceals them again. I would be shocked if there isn't one Indomitable Creativity, and that was what they held on to.
I absolutely agree. In fact, I don't think I could agree more.
I can't think of what else they would want to hang on to in that hand. I mean, the Anger of the Gods is fine, but at this point you need creativity to pop off, and so being able to cycle out so that you can do the thing that your deck is here to do makes sense to me. So yeah.
Now, cat comes down. That's encouraging. If you're on Teruteru's side, and folks, remember, they're a game apiece now. This is where the money comes from, right? This is where you earn your bucks. One of these players is going to advance. One of these players is not going to advance, and it's going to come down to this game. A 5/5 is currently swinging in. Damage taken.
That was a big hit.
It was. What do you go and get if you are John? Is it just... Yeah, I was gonna say, do you just get rid of both of them and just go for it right now, or do you try and interact on some other axis?
I think that makes sense. And there's Ulamog again, as well as Nezahal, who is... Ooh. That's a heck of a card right there.
What do you have to say about Nezahal, the Primal Tide?
I think that card's absolutely fantastic. It's really, I mean, so if I'm recalling correctly, and this is going to test my test my memory of it because I like to think I know my big silly dinosaurs, but that particular one, when your opponent plays a spell, you draw a card and you have an opportunity to discard 3 cards to blink it out of existence until the end step. So Nezahal protects itself nicely and can actually. Did I get that right or did I get something wrong?
You're
Is
on
it
the money. Well, I mean, in
okay?
fairness, it is whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a
Non-creature
card. But
spell.
I
That's right.
mean, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
you're on the money, and boy.
And so Netzahal can actually do kind of a Cauldron Familiar impression about being here on the field when they need to block and then disappearing before damage is assigned. So that is a possibility here. But with the 2 geese back, I don't know that that's. Oh, but John is going to go ahead and go for it, letting another creativity go. So this is an interesting board state to be dealing with these 2 squirrels.
Yeah, for sure. And admittedly, again, the Ulamog being indestructible kind of goes a long way, right?
It helps. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And Teruteru going over their options. Of course, the Gilded Goose can sacrifice food to grow if it were to grow the other squirrel and stuff. But having food on the battlefield allows you to bring back cats multiple times, and of course, being able to chump down big creatures is good and important.
Absolutely. Well, and at this point, John has to seriously consider whether or not it's worth attacking with Ulamog at all, which is, at this point, keeping Ulamog back as a blocker might be relevant here, especially if Teruteru is successful in getting this squirrel, which I believe they will be able to, big enough to survive a tangle with Ulamog.
Yes. All
Which,
right.
my goodness,
Going
it's
to
not.
sacrifice the Cauldron Familiar, probably. Yes. Bring it back with the food.
Yep, bring it
Indeed.
back with the food. Perfect.
It is what happens. And of course, folks, again, dealing with foreign language cards, we would be remiss if we didn't tell you what what was happening there. The squirrel it grows when artifacts are sacrificed. It grows when creatures are sacrificed, but it also has another line of text that is pay 3 mana, a green, a black, and a colorless, where you can then sacrifice a creature or artifact and draw a card and gain a life. So then, of course, with the extra food just hanging out on the battlefield. Oh!
Justice Strike, getting rid of that 12/12 squirrel. Ouch, that hurt.
Yeah, that's a big game. And the turn coming back as well. All right, looks like Kitten going to be coming down, draining a little bit. John's life total dangerously low against these cats. Remember we talked about, they don't typically just kill you in one turn very often. This is a gradual pursuit. Well,
right. And John pulled off the creativity. John did the thing. It was exactly what they came here to do, and got 2 very impressive creatures online. But I don't know that it's enough here.
Yeah, and you'll note John did not attack. We were talking about how threatening that Ulamog attack is. Could not justify an attack there with the Ulamog, even though it wasn't in any danger of dying. But just
right.
It's a very dangerous attack for you. Not being able to hold back and block appropriately is scary here, right?
Yeah. Oh, no question. It's not every day that you see. Oh, but here comes Rest in Peace.
Ooh. Okay. Well,
all right. That might change things.
Let's see here. So the cat going to leave. The cat came back the very next day.
They thought it was a goner.
But the cat came back.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who remembers that song. Bring me back to my elementary school days. I love it.
What can I say? So here comes, but do you, I was going to say, I think I would just go ahead and sacrifice a cat, try and get some more stuff online here. I would, interesting. Yeah, I think I might just sacrifice one of the cats as well, but it looks like the Gilded Goose not going to go that far. Just put a treasure on board. Forget the graveyards. They're all gone. No more graveyards for you. And Teruteru does have...
Mystic Repeal is the name of that card in Teruteru's hand. It's an instant for 1 green that says put target enchantment on the bottom of its owner's library. So John feels like it feels pretty good here, having gotten the rest in peace down. And then Mortality Spear.
Destroy target non-land permanent, folks. So there are options to get rid of that rest in peace.
I think this is Teruteru's game.
It looks like it very well may be. Oh boy. And gotta find the lethal. Gotta find the line. But 5 life is not very many life points. Let's see. Try it, yeah, doing lots of math over there.
Yep.
Looking for it. Keep in mind, Teruteru's library can still survive 1 attack. The clock winding down here, 8 minutes, 55 seconds for Teruteru, but I just can't envision that being a thing that's going to matter here. Sure enough, non-creature spell is cast, Nezahal draws a card. Mortality Spear, almost put on the stack, but thinks better of it. Sends a cat away, brings a cat back. Does not bring a cat back, leaves the cat in the bin.
Was definitely considering bringing the cat back.
Was.
There's 1 timeout used.
Just 1 more. The game very well may hinge on what happens this turn. So I can't even blame Teruteru, not the least bit, for making sure to be very careful about how to navigate this turn, right?
Absolutely. No, this is huge. Yeah, and I don't know that I've ever seen Ulamog sit back on defense like this before. This is, but it's definitely necessary.
For sure. Now, with the cat in the graveyard, Mortality Spear gets cheaper by 2 if you've gained a life, right? So the cat can just come back this turn, and Mortality Spear can then come out of hand and handle a Nezahal or something. But as we've already seen once this game, there is additional text on that Nezahal. Discarding 3 cards is no small ask, but John has 3 cards in hand and will draw an additional 1 should Mortality Spear be put on the stack. So it is not.
Oh. John going for the Indomitable Creativity, targeting the Witch's Oven and the Ravenous Squirrel. Interesting.
Going for alternate cast of Indomitable Creativity, casting it the proverbially fair way. Yeah.
Indeed. Turning 1 16/16 Ravenous Squirrel into 2 1/1 Ravenous Squirrels, but more importantly, getting that Witch's Oven off the field. That was a huge boon that might just buy John another turn or 2 here.
For sure. Oh, it's
here
happening.
Comes Ulamog. Yep.
Crashing in.
And attacking that library.
You see all those cards go away, folks? There's 21 cards left in the library, which means 1 card is going to be drawn on Teruteru's next turn. And then there will be 20 remaining. If Ulamog attacks again, not connects. If it attacks again, the game ends. But is that going to be able to happen, folks? We will see. Here comes a cat back. Just 1 food on the battlefield right now. Looks like the Gilded Goose going to probably make another food is what we're kind of expecting. But the Mortality Spear might come out of hand. Just force John to discard.
Yep. It'll give John an additional card, and then immediately they have to discard.
Oh, it does come back tapped. I forgot about that. The Nezahal, if you exile it, it comes back tapped, I believe, if my memory serves me. So if it does indeed return tapped,
yep,
then the game is over.
Yep, can confirm it will re-enter the battlefield tapped. Oh, but it re-enters at the beginning of the next end step. All of that occurred on the end step. Therefore, it's gone for a whole other turn.
Well, there we go.
Ouch, Teruteru, well played. Well played by both of our competitors. I have to say that Indomitable Creativity play was fantastic to see. Yeah, congratulations to Teruteru bringing it down and advancing to the top 4.
That was wild for sure. Man, that's the whole foreign language card there kind of coming back to bite us a little bit. I think we did pretty all right.
I think so. I think we did okay. Yeah. But I didn't have Scryfall up the whole time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But remembering all of those things, very important. All right. Let's see. Okay, so in fairness, though, thus far, let's do just a little bit of recap because we've got to catch folks up on what has been happening thus far in our top 8. We are currently into the next phase. Golgari Food takes down Jeskai Creativity 2-1, which, very respectable showing, to be certain. But having gotten this far, I do want to stress, folks, absolutely no shame in losing the top 8. It happens to the best players in the world all the time.
Absolutely.
There is going to be but one victor here, just one. So, that means everybody else is going to have to take an L at some point. So definitely congratulations to those who won, but also well done on getting this far for those who did not. That said, Heliod Company actually takes down the Azorius Field 2-0. Folks, it turns out when you have a bunch of commons and uncommons that are comboing all together, darn it, they can really come together. And of course, Collected Company is a scary magic card. Jeskai Creativity against Jeskai Control, and we saw that one. That was a pretty quick 2-0 as far as Jeskai Control standards.
Indeed.
And then finally, the Selesny Enchantress deck takes down Is It Phoenix 2-0, folks. My dark horse still alive.
Still alive, absolutely.
Still alive. Now, I will say the upcoming matches are a little scary because the Selesny Enchantress deck drew the one they did not want to see, and that is Jeskai Control. The live decks are Food, Heliod Company, Jeskai Control, and Enchantress. Enchantress drew the one that they're pretty not excited about. This is the one that.
Is that accurate? It looks like on my Melee, I'm seeing them going up against Heliod Company, actually.
Oh, did they readjust the pairings?
Possibly, yeah. Sometimes they need to get.
Oh, all right. Well, no. Yep, sure enough.
So Selesny Enchantress versus Heliod Company. That's going to be an explosive game, I think.
Yes, and I don't necessarily know that it's favored or one way or another. I haven't played enough of the Selesny Enchantress deck to know if it's favored, but I can say they want to assemble their combo-y stuff with the enchantments, Solemnity and 9 Lives. Oftentimes they have plenty of other stuff going on as well. It's Sigil of the Empty Throne deck, but that means they really want to face off against creature style decks. So dodging the Jeskai Control match, a huge boon.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Now, it looks like we are going to be starting at table 13.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. And we are going to get an opportunity to see that game of Heliod Company versus Selesny Enchantress. And the other matchup, the Golgari Food versus Jeskai Control, two very patient decks. So there's a good chance that we're going to have an opportunity to see some of that game when this is over as well. We'll see how it plans out.
For sure.
Right.
Looks like we are on the Heliod Company side, folks. This is definitely a combo deck, whereas the Selesny Enchantress deck is definitely a synergy deck. But there's a lot of overlap in these lists. The 9 Life Solemnity is undoubtedly a combo. That's not a win condition. It's a way of not losing, which are not synonymous. You do still eventually have to win the game, right?
Absolutely.
They're winning the game with enchantment synergies, right? Whereas the Heliod combo. What?
I'm not sure. I genuinely don't know.
Okay.
We appear to have more technical
the wrong
issues,
player
folks.
was on the play, perhaps.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, that could be.
Sometimes the arena client does not cooperate in the way that you would want.
This is true.
But then the Heliod combo is a really interesting deck because at its core, it's Collected Company deck. For those of you not familiar, 4 mana instant. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. Put up to 2 creature cards, CMC 3 or less, from among them onto the battlefield. Then the rest of the cards go to the bottom. So you want a lot of 3 CMC or less creatures. this entire deck is basically 3 CMC or less creatures.
Well, and there's some really powerful creatures at 3 CMC or less too. That's the other thing. When you think about that restriction, you think, oh, that means I can only get small, maybe not so great creatures. Heliod only costs 3 and is a creature when in the library. So you could very easily hit a Heliod off that. And the main combo that the deck is trying to set up is using cards like Soul Warden, where you gain life when a creature enters the battlefield, and then Heliod, where whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and a card that we're seeing in that opening hand, Scurry Oak. And Scurry Oak says whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on it, a 1/1 squirrel enters the battlefield. So every time a squirrel enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Every time you gain a life, you get to put a counter on Scurry Oak. Every time you put a counter on Scurry Oak, a squirrel enters the battlefield, then you gain a life. The process repeats. And so you can create an infinite army that gains you infinite life.
We did get confirmation, folks. It was indeed Arena not quite doing what we wanted it to do. The wrong person was on the play. We had to fix it. It happens. It happens.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we work through that.
Yeah, indeed. Appreciate it. Here comes Lunark Veteran on 1. Gain a life every time a creature enters. And Trelasara. Hamhawks. This is just Johnny's Pride Mate, right?
Well, yes and no. It's a Najani's Pride Mate in that it is a 2/2 for 2 that whenever you gain a life, you get to put a counter on it. However, Trelasara has one other important detail, and that is that you get to scry 1. And that scry is very, very important because, to your point earlier, this is in fact a combo deck, and we're trying to assemble combo pieces. And when you're trying to assemble combo pieces, you need to dig through your deck any way that you can. And so here we have a situation where not only is the Lunark Veteran gaining us life, but it's also allowing us to dig deeper and deeper. And in this case, there are 2 lands that are now on the bottom of the library instead of the top. I mean, that's just making the draws more efficient. And not to mention, Trelasara is now a 4/4 because it is the Najani's Pride Mate.
For sure. And it's true that the enchantment deck has ways of handling creatures and things. No question about that. They're, they're not just cold to big creatures, but make no mistake, you need to draw them right now. When you got a Trelasara growing at will, basically, this is scary. And it's also notable. Of course, Gordy does not know, but we know, due to the magic of the internet, that Rastaf actually has the Scurry Oak in hand. The only other combo piece that's missing, because there is a life gain creature, the Lunark Veteran, and the Scurry Oak is here. The only other missing combo piece is Heliod. So
yeah, that's it. That's all they need. And at this point, the Baffling End had to go after Trelasara because Trelasara was on the beat down there. It was providing a fair amount of pressure. But Trelasara's plan B. The beatdown is not the primary goal of the deck. And so that's not, removal hitting that is not necessarily a problem for you. And the Ranger Captain Vios is going to stay on top here.
Does not get the combo, but it is a really, really nasty card. And it is notable, folks, there are 0 instants and there are 0 sorceries in this enchantment list. They are all in on this combo. It's actually an Umori the Collector deck, which is not a card you see very often. Companion. So the qualifier is each non-land card in your starting deck shares a creature type. Every single card in this deck is an enchantment. Some of them are enchantment creatures. It's true. There are 9 total creatures in the main deck, but every single card is an enchantment here. There are no board sweepers. As Rastaf goes really, really wide, suddenly they're going to be up against it.
Absolutely. And here they're getting all these life gain triggers, being able to dig. They don't need another Trelasara's. They don't need an Ajani's Welcome. Ranger Captain Vios triggers. We have an opportunity to grab another Soul Warden or a Selfless Savior here. Could be very valuable as well.
Well, I mean, they only exile, right?
Oh, I suppose so.
So yeah, I wouldn't be real excited about that. But yeah, just trying to find those combo pieces. Folks, there is a giveaway incoming! Pizza will get you into the giveaway, so make sure to check that out. Also, we kind of had to. We've been kind of, honestly, we've been making it happen here at the PizzaBox Open, and just hammering one match right into the other. And admittedly, maybe Graham and I are a little long-winded, but
A little bit.
that's surely not the problem. We haven't had a chance to really plug our other sponsor as well, the comic book store. Please check them out. They're helping not just us, they are, but not just us. They're helping the entire Magic community, and that's a good thing, folks. Ranger Captain VO showing off why it was kept on top. Denying the ability to cast anything that's non-creature means there are going to be no borrowed times and banishing lights coming out of the hand or anything like that. This is denying all of that. Now, admittedly, there is a chump blocker, so it does appear as though Gordy will be afforded one more turn here. Oh!
Ooh! That was the card that Rastaf has been digging for. And
Okay.
somehow, well, the Skyclave Apparition is going to do the job here, but somehow still not hitting Heliod.
Yeah. Now, yep.
Yep.
For those of you curious, Skyclave Apparition does exile the blocker. Trellisar are going to be lethal there, for those of you who maybe weren't familiar with all the cards on the board. So not an early scoop from Gordy, absolutely dead, very dead. And just making it so we didn't have to go through 25 million gain life triggers and scries and all that stuff. That was very considerate of Gordy, and I appreciate that.
I would agree with that. That was a very sporting concede. Yes. All right. One card that I'm actually really liking in this sideboard is Yasharn. I think that's a really interesting include given the prominence of sacrifice decks, because Yasharn has a very important piece of text on it that says players cannot sacrifice permanents to other abilities. So all of a sudden it makes it impossible to sacrifice treasure tokens, makes it impossible to sacrifice. So the Witch's Oven basically becomes obsolete. It just doesn't function anymore. So Golgari food decks hate to see Yasharn on the field. It really slows down their engine in a big way. It actually just grinds it to a halt until they find an answer for it. So I think that's a smart include in the sideboard. It doesn't necessarily come in this match, but it's a good card to have available. All right.
So all right, folks, giveaway is live.
Giveaway is live. Exclamation point pizza in chat. Please jump on in. It is good for 6 Crimson Vow boosties. And who doesn't love some good old booster packs on Arena?
All right. Sorry, folks. Had discard or had some Discord stuff showing up. We were just having a discussion about the some behind the scenes stuff we're trying to answer here, but sideboarding definitely going on and making things happen. Not quite sure what obviously Gordy was doing behind the scenes there. It's difficult to say when you're in this kind of situation. You don't want to board too much, and when you're in a collected company deck, you need to not overboard because you need to be able to hit things. Oh, all right. All right, there we go. Looks like the answer is resolved.
It's all good. Everything's just fine.
Yep.
All right.
But yeah, and like I say, we were you don't want to get too many cards into the deck that aren't good cards in the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But importantly, you need to keep enough of the cards that are combo pieces in as well. So even if you have all 15 cards in your sideboard are like, yeah, I want this in this matchup. In a collected company deck, you got to be careful because you need a critical mass of creatures. You need to make sure you can be hitting your combos, things like that. Very, very important.
Absolutely. Well, and notably, like cards like Yasharn that we were looking at. Oh, and Borrowed Time is coming down to deal with that Heliod. That's
wow, that's clutch.
Yeah, that's huge because that Heliod had an opportunity to pop off. Meanwhile, Rastaf is fine though. I'm sure that because they just do another Heliod. But even that aside, they do have a Cleansing Nova in hand, which can just wipe the field of all those enchantments in one fell swoop. So at this point, Rastaf is probably hoping that Gordy commits more non-creature enchantments to the board. Actually, although Cleansing Nova, let me check the wording on that. I think that doesn't care if it's creatures or not.
Yeah, it's destroy all creatures or destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and there is no, if it's an enchantment, it's gone, Right.
So that actually that mode reads destroy all permanents Gordy controls. Because although I can't help but notice that Umori is no longer the companion.
Yeah. Yeah, which likely means they brought in some number of their own, like either cleansing novas is my guess.
That would make sense. Yeah.
That came in, or potentially rest in pieces, but I can't imagine they would bring in rest in peace. Or I'm sorry, Arcana Sun's Grace is the one I was hovering over, and I'm like, why am I bringing up Rest in Peace? There's no stinking graveyard stuff. But yeah, Rest in Peace
Yeah.
could come in just for additional blockers and flying threats, and other ways of ending the game. So that could happen as well. And the Arcana Sun's Grace, it has enchantment synergies, but is not a it is not an enchantment itself. So,
All right, excellent.
looks like, yeah, sure enough, that is going to be enough devotion. Heliod online going to be attacking in, dropping Gordy down to 12. Now, Gordy, like I say, almost certainly did bring in the one of Cleansing Nova, but in the entire 75, there is not but one board sweeper.
Right, and they don't have any way to tutor that up either, if I'm not mistaken. Baffling End, that's a pretty useful enchantment.
It is, and notably, Enchantress's Presence going to be drawing a card. Going after the Heliod, probably.
I would guess so.
And notably, you don't get Heliod back with Baffling End. You only get a 3/3 trample, which is typically, a solid creature and a threat and everything. But Heliod, if the Cleansing Nova gets run out by Rastaf, they would have the Legend rule with multiple Heliods on the battlefield. Well,
Right. So that actually works out to their benefit in this case.
in this case, yeah, it would actually benefit Rastaf.
Ooh, but no, Baffling End is going after the Soul Warden.
Yeah,
2+ custom counters.
Yeah. And I can't say I blame them. If they have another way of answering the Lunark veteran, then that's just great news indeed. It's so scary. It's so scary being on the other side of that combo.
Oh, absolutely. Here comes another Baffling End. Possibly going after the Lunark veteran this time, you think?
I would guess. Oh boy, no.
Going after the Ranger Captain. Okay.
Interesting. So you just sacrifice. Opponents can't cast non-creature spells this turn, but it doesn't matter.
Wow.
It's in hand. Cleansing Nova has to destroy Gideon's Intervention.
Right.
In order to get it down. But do you just go for it? They're also tapped out. There's no sacrificing Sterling Grove. 1 damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here it
comes.
is. And Heliod, of course, survives this, and there's the Legend rule. Because of indestructibility. Pretty handy.
And a pair of 3/3s enter. Going to be gaining a little life as well. Never hurts. A little more 1/1 counters here. Suddenly, there is 9 power on board, 6 of it trample. And Gordy, I can't help but think, Gordy was feeling really good.
Oh, absolutely. No, they had set up quite the board state, and now all of a sudden, that Cleansing Nova coming in clutch. And notably here, too, if Gordy has an answer to Heliod, there's that one of Cleansing Nova.
All right.
Sure enough. Okay, that was actually a pretty darn good answer.
It was. Now, do you run out the Scurry Oak here? Man, I think I would just rather Lunark Veteran make a token, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because you don't want to expose your other combo piece. Admittedly, they know that that's the one of Cleansing Nova. That's it, folks.
Right.
In the entire 75 cards, that's the only one. But
yeah, both players timing their Cleansing Novas perfectly. Ooh, Solemnity. That is going to shut down Heliod.
It does indeed. And by extension, the combo, folks. Scurry Oak. Ooh. Baffling End I can't imagine they care about Heliod anymore. So
At this
they've got to be
point,
going.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, and the Luminous Phantom notably it does have a gain life trigger, but it was when a creature leaves the battlefield instead of enters. So nowhere near as good as the ETB trigger there.
Solemnity coming down just in time, folks. The final combo piece in hand. Soul Warden and Scurry Oak, as our good friend Graham here has already explained. When you have Heliod on board, you just keep putting the counter on the Scurry Oak, and you keep making dudes by gaining life, and then you make dudes, you gain life. You end up with 251 ones and 250 additional life, and a 251, 252 Scurry Oak, and your opponent has a bit of a headache when they have no board sweepers. Problem is, Solemnity has arrived. Solemnity has joined the party. And that says you cannot put counters on creatures anymore. Or enchantments.
Actually, any permanents. Permanents just cannot get counters of any kind. Yeah, Solemnity is pretty darn powerful in that regard. It's a double-edged sword, if so you need to use it correctly. But
yes. Well, and I guess in fairness,
or artifact creatures, enchantments, your lands. You're right. It doesn't touch planeswalkers. I apologize. But yeah. But it does touch 9 lives. It does impact that, which this is a lockout that we've seen time and time again on the historic ladder. It's just good.
Indeed, it is.
I don't know what else to say. It's just good.
So, do you run out the Heliod on your turn and then Collected Company? I mean, what does Heliod do? I mean, it becomes a 5/5, but it doesn't really attack anymore. I feel like you've got to try and set up, though, right? Especially now that you know the board sweeper's gone.
Yeah, you gotta try to set up in the hopes of hitting another Cleansing Nova to wipe this out. Although another Cleansing Nova just wins the game because of 9 lives. Because the moment 9 lives leaves the battlefield, you lose the game.
Well, but is there another Cleansing Nova?
That's a good question. I need to confirm that.
I didn't think there was. Now, there are Dromoka's commands, which can force players to sacrifice enchantments, but sacrifice, they get to choose which one. And there are plenty of enchantments worth sacrificing, not the least of which would be the Banishing Light. Oh, whiff!
Ouch!
Oh, folks, just like we talked about, you got to be careful of overboarding. Boarding in things that are not small creatures, because sometimes it just increases your chances of whiffing. And here we are. We saw in there a Dromoka's command. If that had been a small creature, it would have come into play. But no. Admittedly, I'm not faulting anyone for bringing in Dromoka's command against an enchantment deck. Surely not.
No,
but,
I think that's a fine choice. But yeah.
But it does demonstrate my point rather well, I think.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
Here is Sithis drawing cards, Enchantmentress's Presence drawing cards, Sterling Grove coming down.
Ooh.
Now, again, not one to count chickens before their time. This is looking bad for Rastaf. All but locked out of the game here until they draw into something meaningful. And again, for those of you who are curious about the 9 lives thing, 9 lives says prevent the damage that would be dealt, a combat damage, and then put a counter on 9 lives. And then it's kind of a thematic thing, like a cat, you have 9 lives, and then after the 9 lives gets 9 counters, then you die, right? You've expended your 9 lives and you're dead. Well, Solemnity says you can't put counters on enchantments. So the damage is prevented, but no counters are placed. So you end up being impervious to combat damage, more or less, with a few exceptions. But none of those exceptions exist in this list.
Right.
So sure enough, Sterling Grove cashed in to find a Sigil of the Empty Throne. Not surprising, folks, for those of you uninitiated with this card. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, make a 4/4 flying angel.
Well, but how often could they possibly play enchantment spells?
It turns out more often in this deck than in the rest of Historic, apparently. Another Sterling Grove coming down, giving Shroud. Oh no!
Ooh, and another Sigil of the Empty Throne coming down.
Now all enchantments that are cast create 2 4/4 flying angels. Gideon's Intervention, going to name a card, make a pair of angels gain some life, draw 25 million cards. Names.
Let's see.
What do you name here? This collected company, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
collected company is probably the right answer.
is there any,
Maybe
like,
Rain.
are you actually threatened by anything right now?
At
I
this point,
mean,
I don't think so. Because I mean, this you could name Scurry Oak, but with Solemnity in play, that's irrelevant. Um,
and they would have to get like one Skyclave apparition. You might say name Skyclave apparition. Very good card.
yeah,
But you'd have to get rid of the Sterling Grove first. So if you, I don't know.
yeah, and they end up naming collected company. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
I agree. And sure enough, folks, a million 4/4s and even more cards getting drawn. At this point, it appears to be all over but the shouting. Gordy appears to be poised to take game 2 and tie up the series. That will put Rastaf back on the play. Oh boy. I'm not sure if this is BM yet because good lord.
Now,
But
the other factor is Gordy's library. Gordy is down to 10 cards in library.
it's true.
So that is something that if they were to play any more, they run the risk of drawing out. But they seem to know when to stop, or at least they've chosen to stop now, I should
Yeah,
say.
well, sure. Indeed.
And then just
Indeed.
discard all the lands naturally.
Yep.
Yep. Rastaf sees it. Let's conserve a little bit of clock. Let's move on to game 3. Yep.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. And a good time, no question about it.
Mhm.
And do you change anything from game 2 to game 3? Because Rastaf back on the play now. This is kind of where you want to be when you have the possibility of whatever winning on turn 4, or theoretically winning on turn 4. The only board sweeper is that Cleansing Nova in the Selesnya Enchantments deck. So if you're on the play and you just go turn 4 Collected Company, finish up your combo, make a billion dudes, get in there, right? You could realistically be swinging in next turn before they have their 5th mana in play, right? So
Yeah. It's very possible.
real quick, do want to thank all of you wonderful folks who have been subbing and following. We're on a little bit of a delay here, so I apologize. We normally would try and interact with chat a little more, but it's a little bit fruitless when you won't receive our message for, several
A
minutes.
few minutes.
So,
Yep, exactly.
um,
But yes,
yeah,
thank you everybody for participating. And if you're not currently following the channel, please go ahead and give Hollywood Pizza some love. He puts on a great show. And also, if you want to see the man behind the production, he does stream in the evenings as well. Yeah, plays Magic the Gathering, of course, Marbles on stream, all kinds of fun stuff. So definitely check him out. All right, so here we go. Game 3. Who doesn't love a good game 3? All right,
indeed.
So yeah, 2 Soul Wardens, a Lunarch Veteran, and a Collected Company. So if that Collected Company can hit both the Scurryod and the Scurry Oak rather, and the Heliod, that's all she wrote. We'll see if that does play out here.
Well, and I think it's also notable that this hand is set up for the alternate win, right? Where sometimes this deck just has a fair game plan. We didn't see it this past game, but remember there was that Trellisara that was essentially an Ajani's Pridemate that grows, gains life whenever you gain life, and then you scry. But then there's also the Voice of the Blessed, which is another solid thing. And I'm not quite sure how many of those ended up staying in the list. We'd have to go back and look. But Voice the Blast, anytime you gain a life, it gets bigger. And Voice the Blast also ends up getting Flying and Vigilance and eventually Indestructible, which isn't super relevant when your opponent's only exiling things, but still, it doesn't die to combat damage, which is relevant. So if you're gaining 3 life every time a creature enters, whew, that's
Yeah,
that's a lot.
that
You're putting a
is a
lot of
lot.
counters around.
That's pretty fantastic. And a third Soul Warden, and Rastaf is having no hesitation in committing to the board here.
Running them out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In
Would like
fact,
to,
yes. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry,
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would like to casually remind everybody, check out the comic book store, folks. They are great folks putting on these tournaments, supporting everybody. And also partners with MTG Melee. That's how we're bringing the winner of this tournament is going to the Pro Tour. I kid you not. Going to the Pro Tour via this tournament. So definitely make sure to pop over to MTG Melee and support them as well. So check out our sponsors.
Absolutely. Well, in MTG Melee, also, if you're not familiar, they're a software company effectively that has a browser-based platform that is helping put this tournament on, as well as countless other tournaments throughout the Magic universe. So just they do phenomenal work. So yeah, huge, nothing but love for the MTG Melee team.
Could not agree more, folks. You noticed 4 untapped mana and a bunch of spells to cast, or 2, as it were.
A couple spells. Yep.
Why is Rastaf passing the turn? Well, one of the things that makes Collected Company so stinking good, it's an instant. So Gordy is now going to be. This is a pretty telegraphed, Collected Company. You're pretty sure you know what your opponent's got, but they don't know what Rastaf is going to hit off of Collected Company, and they won't know until they go to pass the turn. So this is a terrifying, terrifying time. Sure enough, Gideon's Intervention comes out of the hand. Sithis going to gain a life and draw a card because an enchantment was cast. Yeah, I mean, this is. Oh.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, there's Voice of the Blessed. We were talking about them a second ago, and there they are.
I almost called this a whiff because they only hit 1 creature and it was just a single 2-drop. But when your 4 mana and instant produces a 6/6 flying trample that's going to get bigger, I know. You might say I'm a bit of a prophet, folks.
A little bit.
But
Yeah.
now the Gideon's Intervention, oh wow, names Heliod Suncrown. I was going to say they're almost priced into naming Voice of the Blessed, but Gordy doesn't. Gordy names Heliod, and here we go, off to the races.
All right, playing Trelisar first means that we're going to get a ton of scry triggers here. And also, everybody on MTG Melee, you can actually follow the PizzaBox and keep an eye out for future upcoming tournaments. Tournaments are happening all the time, and next week there's going to be a historic brawl tournament. So definitely check that out. It's going to be right here on Hollywood Pizza's channel, and more information about upcoming tournaments will be available through MTG Melee shortly. So please keep an eye out there.
Do you run out the second Voice of the Blast?
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
I think I would snap it off as well.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so folks, you're passing the turn back. If Gordy has the 1 single board sweeper, yeah, you're feeling kind of bad. But you'll feel bad straight into victory, considering that's game. Your Voice of the Bless are indestructible now. It's going to swing in for roughly 250 million damage. And then if the answer is just Cleansing Nova, the Voice of the Blessed is indestructible. It doesn't die with the rest. So you have to be able to cast enchantments that will interact with both of these Voice of the Blesses, and then still chump block Trellis. Oh man.
Yeah, that's not a good position to be in.
Yeah. Oh boy, Rastaf on the board and living large, as it were.
Well, and with that Cleansing Nova on board, if Gordy does find some way to answer maybe both voices, but not necessarily Trelisar, the Cleansing Nova can get rid of Sithis and open up the attack that way too.
Yeah, so I'm expecting a 9 lives here, right? Just to try and live.
Yep.
As expected. Sure enough, there it is. And then they're going to cast that just to try and be in the game. The problem is Cleansing Nova is here. It's not castable yet. Only 4 mana on board.
True.
If 9 lives goes away, you lose the game. It doesn't care how it goes away. It just cares that it goes away. So 9 lives going to go ahead and get 6 counters. If 3 more counters end up on it, you lose. But if
that's it,
Rastaf top decks a land, you also lose. This is a scary place to be if you're sitting in Gordy's seat. And keep in mind, again, folks, Rastaf has taken a game, and Gordy has taken a game. This is for all the marbles. Winner advances. Loser gets, a little bit of compensation. There's a prize structure here or whatever. But darn it, I think we can all agree they would rather come home the victor. So needs to happen in a hurry, and currently still dead on board. Does that even do it?
Sterling Grove? I don't think so.
Is there? No, because have they made their land drop? I think they did.
Now
Oh,
they
they
do.
did now. Okay, so they
Yeah.
can still. Is there a 1 mana? No. Well, okay, that's
No, and Sterling Grove, if I'm not mistaken, tutors to the top of the library, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that's it, folks. They only need to get 9 counters on. And well, is there? Let's see. What's the one where you can exile a tapped creature? Actually, it still doesn't matter because that's still 4. Exiling a tapped creature doesn't do it either. Well, darn
Yeah.
it, folks. I was trying to construct some contraption that would keep Gordy in the game because darn it, Gordy, you were my dark horse.
That's
I asked
true.
for you to take it home. That said, we have a sponsor, but not one, two. First of all, there is MTG Melee, who we are partnered with, that is getting us these invites, these Pro Tour invites, that can be handed out in, depending on where they are earned and all that kind of stuff. This is a Pro Tour qualifier. This is what these used to be called, and it's happening here thanks to MTG Melee. And just tuning in there, folks, there's tournaments kind of going on all the time, and not just from the PizzaBox, but all kinds of different tournaments. So go ahead and pop over there, have a look.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying
also
open your wallet. I'm saying go look, right? Just go look. It's all.
yeah, if you want to participate in Magic tournaments, MTG Melee is the place to be. There are all kinds of great events going on. And also, if you want to host tournaments, it is a phenomenal tool to use. So please check it out. It is very, very cool. Even if you have just a passing interest in competitive Magic, check out MTG Melee. They do just a phenomenal job.
100% agreed. And then also, folks, the comic book store. Long before Hollywood Pizza was running up to the top of the charts in these fantastic tournaments that he's putting on, the PizzaBox Open was once a small entity, and just a few people were showing up trying to make this thing happen, tirelessly forging into the recently anyway uncharted territory of smaller streamers putting together tournaments and things like that. And darn it, Hollywood Pizza's been doing a great job. But right from the beginning, the comic book store has been there trying to help Hollywood Pizza do this thing. And show them some love. Show them some love, folks. They are seriously doing us a solid here. Constantly providing prize support and things for this, for all these tournaments, and they're showing up all the time. Show them some love, right? That's
Absolutely.
Graham. The
Yes.
time has arrived. The finals are here. This is what we've been waiting for all day. The first several hours of the stream, there were a pair of striders helping us achieve this place.
And we're here.
Who's going to win this match?
That is a brilliant question. And so everybody in chat, you actually do have the opportunity to predict who you believe is going to take this one down. And the question is Jeskai Control versus Heliod Company. I gotta say, I'm torn. I think both decks are absolutely phenomenal, and both players obviously have done a phenomenal job today. So I'm torn. To be honest, I think Jeskai Control piloted by Lukas, might have what it takes to take this thing down. How about you? What are your predictions?
This is tough.
Right?
For those of you who frequented my channel, you likely know I have an undue amount of affection for, white decks. Well before they were good. I am a hipster. Admittedly, way back in the day, there were Savannah Lions and things like that. The problem is both of these decks are running white, right? Gone are the days where white was the color that was mocked for, oh, your piddly life gain shenanigans and stuff. How comical. Life gain. We've already seen it doing its thing. Whether it's actual combo or whether it's just synergy, it's been doing it. But similarly, I went through a whole phase where I played a lot of control. So, and when I played some Jeskai, it was actually Emrakul style combos in Modern, right, with Nahiri and things like that.
Okay.
So I both of these decks are kind of near and dear to my heart. But since you went with Jeskai Control, I think I'm taking the Collected Company side.
Okay.
Because I think there is something very honest about being the one asking the questions. Just making your opponent have it. Saying, okay, I know what you came here to do, but you know what I came here to do. Can you stop me? Right? There is something very honest about that. And I can really get behind that. And here our Heliod Company player has been an absolute terror coming up through this tournament, just absolutely decimating the competition at every possible turn and showing a great deal of mastery with the deck. So I think I'm going to take the Collected Company side, and I'll let you sit over there with your filthy blue counters and your nasty board sweepers and.
Which is funny because when I'm playing, I tend to play the more assertive decks that are asking the questions. I just, but I find myself in these situations really enjoying watching Control, partially because I'm personally not as familiar with it. So I find it's almost like trying to learn a foreign language. Like how do I understand, how to play a Control deck? Because I've tried playing some all-in Control decks. It rarely ends well, let me tell you. I'm just not that style of a player, and so when someone can execute well with a true Control deck, I find it very fascinating. And that's what we're seeing here. And so this game is actually underway. Game 1. It has begun. Our competitors are going at it here for our amusement. You got to love it. And not only that, but this match will determine the winner of the PizzaBox and who gets that coveted Pro Tour invite. So this is going to be fantastic to see. Archmage's Charm notably coming in from Lucas's side to grab the Soul Warden, which is a very important piece of Rastaf's combo, as well as the synergies. And in this case, Lightning Helix is going to take down that Ranger Captain of Eos. If you're Rastaf, I mean, you might as well sacrifice it here to prevent the life gain. Or do you sacrifice the Selfless Savior here?
Yeah, this is a tough one, but I think I side with Rastaf here. I think just keeping the Ranger Captain around does allow you to prevent board sweepers, right?
Right.
So
yeah, that's reason. Yep, that's important. And here comes Narset.
Well, I don't quite know how Rastaf is going to abide the rules. Does Rastaf have anything that actually says draw a card on it?
That's a good question. I don't know that they do.
Yeah, I don't know. I would hate to issue a disqualification for Rastaf because they couldn't punt to the Narset. But like, here we are. Here we are. I don't know.
Well, all of a sudden, one of the criticisms of White is that they don't draw cards particularly well. But in this situation, that's okay. Yeah.
It's true. And rather than going after the relatively low life total of 13, Rastaf goes after the Narset. Soul Warden happens. Now, presumably, the Ranger Captain of Eos is being saved for the combo turn, right? You sacrifice after your Scurry Oak has gone off, and now your opponent is essentially forced to pass the turn and you win, right?
Right.
If this is, oh boy, I was going to say, if this is Collected Company, then that could matter. That could work out. It's not, which it wasn't.
Not that time, anyway.
And not this time. This feels pretty scary, right? At least from my perspective. If I was sitting in Rastaf's seat, they have gone wide, but you always know that your control opponent is ready to do nasty things to you just at every turn, it feels like.
Absolutely.
Now, notably, Lukas does have every kind of piece of interaction you could ask for. They, up until this point, had a counterspell. Then they had board sweepers and spot removal. Sure enough, they draw into another counterspell as well.
Yeah, the Archmage Charm just replacing itself in hand, apparently. I didn't know that was one of its features, but that is exactly what happened here.
Yeah, it's true. And boy, oh boy, that is something to be sure. Now, do you just take the portable hole, I think?
I probably would take I would probably put the land back in the library, take the portable hole.
Yeah, I think I would have too. But again, I think that is demonstrating our limitations with Control. I had mentioned that I had played a fair amount of it in Modern and things. I found that consistently my problem was not being patient. I really struggled with that. And I think it really, really hampered my abilities as the Control player because I always just was anxious to do it, right? Which is why I was playing the Nahiri and Emrakul version, because occasionally you just do it. And it's essentially a combo. For those of you who are unaware, Nahiri, you defend the Planeswalker, and then you could just eventually ultimate and then put Emrakul the Aeon's Torn onto the battlefield and attack with it. Your opponent sacrifices all their stuff, and you essentially win the game. So it worked out. Lukas is in a bit of a different spot here. They have to win through a much more conventional control game plan.
Well, they just drew 2 cards that are definitely going to make that easier to do in Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and Shark Typhoon.
So, are we going to see a hard cast Shark Typhoon?
I kind of hope so.
Do
Who doesn't
you
love
think
good
Lukas
hard?
is going to come down on the side of content or the side of just trying to win the game?
I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to try to win the game. So if Lukas believes that the hardcast Shark Typhoon is the best chance to win this thing, they're going to do it. You know, that's kind of my thought. The portable hole going after one of the tokens rather than the Ajani's Welcome, which I find interesting.
Yeah. I had initially thought that's where it was going, and I thought honestly it was a foregone conclusion. Again, I think Lukas demonstrating that patience is Lukas considers patience an ally.
Yes.
Patience was always my enemy. I can tell you that.
I hear that. I'm right there with you. I have a 6-drop. I just play it, right? Like, no, keep your mana up. But I can just play it. Why don't I just play it? Yeah.
Sure.
That was the way I played Control anyway.
Yes, I was far more like the Hulk in that. You know,
Just, yeah, you got to smash.
a big 6-drop. Hulk, no. You know. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
I hear you. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Well. Oh boy.
Here it comes.
It's happening.
Yes. Hardcast Shark Typhoon with Teferi, Hero of Dominaria on the board. And this is just game 1, folks.
Yeah. Fairy going to untap some lands. E-I-E-I-O, folks. And on to Fairy's farm. It's there is a scary proposition or two. Suddenly, I don't think Castle Ardenvale is going to get the job done.
No, it was putting in a lot of work there. It was doing some good stuff, but it's not looking so good anymore.
Yeah, Castle Ardenvale versus Shark Typhoon is not a particularly favorable matchup, I don't think. Here come a few tokens. And Shark Typhoon making a mess of things yet again. Sure enough, Lightning Helix. Killing off a dude. Presenting some just ridiculously favorable blocks here. Undoing whole turns worth of work. Remember, each one of those little bell tokens there represents 5 mana and essentially 1 whole turn worth of work. And it's basically all being undone by a single Lightning Helix. Boy, oh boy. This one's beginning to feel like it's all over but the shouting, I think.
I think you might be right. It might be time to move on to game 2 here. Let's see. Especially because Lukas showing that control player patience is definitely holding up the mana just in case of Collected Company. And they have 3 Wrath of Gods in hand just in case.
Yeah, indeed. And it is true that theoretically, given Rastaf's current board state, okay, fine. I was going to say there are 2 life gain creatures. So if you Collected Company into Heliod and
Scurry Oak, yep.
Scurry Oak, then you could spread out the extra counters. You always need to put 1 counter onto the Scurry Oak, but then you can spread the remaining extra counters out over your other attackers, making it so, you know, you could theoretically be attacking with a couple of 50-50 style creatures. You know, the problem is they just get chumped by sharks right now. Right. And then you pass the turn back, and there is this really, really old card that has an entire line of meaningless text. Creatures can't be regenerated. It does not have any text whatsoever on Arena. The problem is the first line is very, very relevant in this case. Destroy all creatures. It doesn't matter that you have 250 creatures, or, you know, 3 50-50 creatures, or 5 50-50 creatures, or whatever it works out to be. Like, it doesn't matter. Your creatures are now all gone. It's true. Yeah, but John, they've got 250 life. Yeah, okay. Uh, I hate to be the one that is raining on Rastaf's parade here, but the Shark Typhoon makes quick work of that.
That's true.
It's not long before you're making a couple of 3/3s a turn, a 4/4, a 6/6, a 7/7. Like these things happen, and when you can't even chump them because they're flyers, it just gets out of control. Scurry Oak does come down.
All right, Scurry Oak is live. So that's going to be able to produce some creatures, potentially if a counter generator can make itself known, such as Heliod. I don't know, I need to check this.
Oof. Oh boy. Teferi. Oh. Just stop. Oh, please. Just don't. All right, expressive iteration. As if it wasn't good enough already. What if it came attached to a 2/2 flyer?
That sounds pretty good.
Oh, golly. Remember what I said about 6/6s and 7/7s?
Yep.
Those 3 cards from expressive iteration were so good. They were putting a 6/6 draw 3, make your entire hand cheaper to the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty fantastic.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you know,
Wow.
okay. I'm not saying the game is over, but I am saying I'm glad I'm sitting on this side of the table. That's all I'm saying, okay?
Right. This is not looking good for Rastaf.
All right. Now, on the bright side, things are happening, right? Ratstaff is making creatures, is gaining life. It does have a good chunk of the combo together. And if nothing else, Lukas is going to the discard phase, which can't be bad. Right?
Yeah. That's fair.
Is it going to be enough? Well, that remains to be seen. We'll find out. But it's not bad news. Discover the formula. Going to go ahead, get even more. Oh my goodness. Folks, I'm not sure. Pizza, folks, there is another giveaway coming in. Make sure to get your exclamation point pizza into the chat. Giveaway is happening. Exclamation point pizza into the chat. I'm not sure how Hollywood Pizza feels about family-friendly content, but I'm not sure. If you have small children, please have them look away. Lukas is really doing very, very not safe for work style things right now.
Yeah, that was a brutal beatdown with those flying sharks. Yeah, Rastaf was just not able to assemble the combo. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that was brutal. And now, folks, Lukas has game 1. And now gets to go to the board and take out cards that don't matter and put cards in that do. Admittedly, Helion Company is doing a similar thing. That is helpful. But I am definitely on the side of the Jeskai control deck gets markedly better. And the company deck gets some useful tools. There's a couple of Thalias in the company deck. I'm not sure if they're bringing in Ajani Strength and Pride, but it is, if you're expecting your opponent to run out board sweepers, being able to have a Planeswalker on board that produces repeatable content can be, or creatures can be good. So they might bring that in there. There are a couple more Skyclave Apparition in the board. We're not sure if any of those come in, but it's possible. But you'll notice none of those cards, well, and I guess there is a Gideon Blackblade, which is very good against control deck. I'm sure that one's coming in. But none of the rest of those cards really felt like, yes, this is a silver bullet.
Right.
The Thalia, if it comes down on turn 2, is very good. So hopefully, if you're on Ratstaff's team, I think that's the card you really want him to have. But none of the rest of it felt impactful. Jeskai control deck felt like they were going to the candy store, right?
Right.
We're just getting all this good stuff.
Yeah, and they got, so Lukas got all the goodies. You know, they had the answers to everything. And a lot of the time they were keeping up an Archmage charm to deal with a collected company that just never came. And so I think it was a part of that game was Lukas drawing into some really great answers and using their tools very, very well. Meanwhile, Rastaf just didn't seem to, I don't know if they didn't have the cards or if they were trying to play around the counters, but they didn't quite seem to have the combo that they were trying to put together. And so we didn't get to see it pop off there.
Yeah, it's true. Lukas, and when you are in the control game, hitting your land drops, arguably the most important thing to do.
Absolutely.
So when faced with the opportunity of keeping a one-lander with a whole bunch of really powerful cards, it was no-brainer. We're tossing this one back. Lukas thinking about leaning on the expressive iteration for the land drop.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one. I can't blame either decision here. I think this is fair.
Mhm.
If the expressive iteration does not pull up a land, this could be Rastaf's game. It really could be that important, that impactful. Expressive iteration goes so deep. Darn it.
Mhm.
It goes a full 3 cards, folks.
Yeah, here we are talking about how important it is to hit your land drops, and we just saw Lukas basically treat the expressive iteration in their hand as their third land, and they just happen to draw a Hallowed Fountain. Perfect. That was exactly what they were hoping to see.
Yep. Oh boy.
Meanwhile, Rastaf's probably feeling pretty good with the double Lunark veteran right now.
I think so. And I believe Lukas's plan here was,
Oh, there it is.
oh my goodness, and answered by the veto.
Answered by the veto, which was almost mulliganed away.
Almost. Yeah, that was that. There was a period of time where that was on the bottom of the library. A very brief period, but it was on there.
Right.
Land drop made, holding up Lightning Helix. Lunark veterans coming on in just for a couple of chip damage style things. And Heliod, the other half of a combo coming down, no counter magic available. Did not choose to sacrifice. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that Anger of the Gods here is actually pretty fantastic because the Lunark veteran has the ability to disturb as the Luminous Phantom, and come back to the field as a 1/1 flyer, and so Anger of the Gods shuts that down nicely.
But notably, it was a little bit of a risk from Lukas, and I don't blame Lukas, surely not. But it was a little bit of a risk because this could have been a collected company turn. If there had been a land drop and a collected company, Rastaf could have just gone off.
That's
And your
true.
shield's down, you're tapped out. No board sweeper in hand. That would have been game.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It is unlikely to matter that way now. And it seems unlikely that there will be a better opportunity. Rastaf's deck not cooperating in the same way does not provide the 4th land. And oh no, is this another
Ouch.
land drop? Not like this.
No.
Okay, no,
Okay.
okay. All right. Hold on just a darn minute.
It was looking that way for a second. I was nervous.
Rastaf likely considering firing off a collecting company.
It's a very real possibility here.
But they also have to worry about Anger of the Gods. Now, there are no spell pierces in the list. Oh boy, here it comes.
Here it comes.
Is it there, folks?
I know we're all holding our breath, waiting to see what Rastaf spins into here. Because if they hit a Soul Warden and a Scurry Oak, that's the combo. It's a
Okay.
Thalia and a Trelisara. Fine cards, but they're definitely not what Rastaf was hoping to see.
Yeah, and like I said, we wanted the Thalia like on turn 2 or something, but this is why I was a little more. It's not the same kind of hate card, right? You know, rest in peace. You know, screw your graveyard.
Yeah, that's bad.
It's not. Oh,
Whoa!
hold on. Did it just happen? Just straight from hand, Lunark veteran into Scurry Oak, and ladies and gentlemen, this is what we've been talking about all day.
There it is.
Now, keep in mind, folks, there is no other. There's no haste. Every single one of these counters needs to go on Scurry Oak. If the counter ever goes on anywhere else, then the loop stops, right? So this is not an infinite combo. No, there are no draws here. At any given time, Heliod can put the counter onto Lunark Veteran or onto one of the squirrels and stop all of this loop. It is unlikely to happen anytime soon. We're going to be here for just a minute or two. But that is what kind of makes this deck really strong. You'll note, Heliod is the only true linchpin of this deck that's not replaceable as far as what it's accomplishing for the combo. It's true, okay, you also need specifically Scurry Oak, but Heliod just plays well with the rest of the deck, right?
Right.
Non-combo things, if you just have Heliod and Soul Wardens and Lunarch Veterans, whenever a creature enters, put counters on places, your little 1-mana 1/1s can be 5/5s in a heartbeat, right? So while it's true, that's not specifically a combo, it's a really, really powerful synergy that we've seen win games even in the top 8 here. So with Rastaf going off, this is the actual combo. And again, in paper, this would be very simple. You would look your opponent in the eyes and they would look you back and like, are you serious right now? But you would look at them in the eyes and say, okay, I have 28 million squirrels. I have a
Right.
28 million Scurry Oak, and I'm at 28 million life. And they go, for real? Yeah, for real. And that would be the end of the question.
Exactly.
Right?
This is how the combo works. Can you interact with it? No? All right, great. Then, yeah.
And that's game.
Yeah. There it is.
Rastaf, yep, does not get a board sweeper, or I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Lucas. Yeah.
Lucas does not get a board sweeper, and Rastaf could have gone all 250, but chose to just go big enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to kill you in one shot. And even if you get rid of this one creature, all 25 of these others are going to kill you. Do you have Wrath of God? Was basically the question that was being asked. And the answer? No. No Wrath of God. So now Lukas and Rastaf are going back to the board. It appears as though Rastaf may be making a change or two. We will see.
Yeah, Lucas was happy with the board decisions, but I got to say, Rastaf did a masterful job there of playing out the Collected Company, not setting up the combo, and then Lucas almost like just very casually threw out the Anger of the Gods to deal with the Trelisara and the Thalia, and then Lucas with only 3 cards in hand was able to completely assemble the combo. It was really cool to watch. I got to say, that was really impressive. Yeah.
I concur. And again, that is one of the things that's so scary about this deck, and against any opponent.
Right.
Folks, I've said it before, but sometimes when you put cards in your deck, you will draw them. Now, was it likely that 2 of the 3 cards, one for the turn and then the other, was that was the remainder part of the combo? Well, no, it wasn't likely, but it likely was planned. We don't know what was in the hand, and it's possible it was just a very lucky top deck. But folks, as tilting as it can be when your opponent draws exactly what they need, that's why you put the cards in your deck.
Right, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
At some point, you're going to draw them. It feels really good when it's on the turn, and it feels really bad when it's on that pivotal turn. But that's why they're there. That's why you put them in your deck, right? So here we are, and darn it, it's come down. The finals, a game apiece. Lukas to Rastaf, and Lukas is on the play. Is that correct?
Yes, Lucas is on the play for this one.
Yes, Lukas just lost there. And in fairness, that is where the control deck wants to be. This is very, very important. Being able to be on the play. Ooh. How do you feel about this? No red mana.
No red mana. If one of those lands was red, I'd say this is a keeper.
Oh boy.
And Lucas says it's a keeper anyway.
Their deck. It's the final. This winner goes to the Pro Tour and comes away with a nice little bag of reward as well. But loser goes away, and Lukas says, you know what? No, I'm in a 26 land deck. I'm going to trust that my deck comes through for me, right?
I mean, I have to appreciate having that kind of faith in the deck. I believe in what are they saying? Yu-Gi-Oh! The heart of the cards, just believing in the heart of the cards. Yeah, and I mean, mad respect, but and also doing that on the play.
On the play, yeah.
This
is I have often said this on my stream. One of the scariest places to be in Magic.
And he got it
on the play, and there it is.
Steam vents off the top, perfect, perfect.
And expressive iteration, folks.
Yeah,
it cleans up a whole bunch of messes that could have been made, and man. This hand went from really sketchy, and we're like, maybe you should have mulliganed that, to, oh no, this is great.
Yeah,
You should be really
yeah.
happy this is here.
Lightning Helix is going to come down, hit that Voice of the Blessed before any counters can be placed on it. I think that's absolutely beautiful. And Lukas
Like,
is now back up to a cool 20 life.
it's true. And draws another red source just to flex, I think. Reveals another couple red sources. Just the deck was
Brilliant.
glad that Lukas trusted it, right? And wanted to make sure to show, no, you did the right thing. And
Yep.
wanted to make a fool of the commentators, you know?
Here we were, exactly, saying, I don't know about this. And the deck's like, I know. We're good.
But,
And here comes Gideon Blackblade, this time without a counterspell to address it.
and I did mention before, that is a good card, folks. Make no mistake. And indestructible Planeswalker. That is also a 4/4 clock. That will end the game relatively quickly. This is not, a 2-turn clock or anything like that. This isn't a giant shark or something, or a Hullbreaker Horror crashing in. But a 4/4 that's coming down on turn 3 is terrifying to the control player.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to handle this thing. Now, admittedly, the Unholy Heat kind of does that, but not yet. There needs to be a land to come in. And currently, yeah, sure enough, Lukas, a little worried here, does go for the Grafdigger's Cage, which will stop Collected Company. Folks, you might be thinking, what are you doing? Grafdigger's Cage is for graveyard decks, and you're right, it is. But there's another little interesting line of text on Grafdigger's Cage that is often overlooked. It says, creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. And that's what Collected Company is doing, folks, is bringing cards in from the library. So, oh boy. Rastaf says, I live by the top of my deck, and I die by the top of my deck. I am going to try and kill you now. What can you do about it?
Wow. All right. Yeah. Literally putting all of their cards on the table. It's a ton of life gain creatures, which of course are key pieces to the combo.
Yep, it's true. But remember, folks, Gideon Blackblade just sitting here, ticking up, just doing work.
Absolutely. That's definitely something to reckon with here.
And that Unholy Heat is suddenly not really an answer anymore. Even if you were to get Delirium, currently it's not even close, right?
Right.
You're on 2 card types. You need 4. And 6 damage though. There's 7 loyalty over there last I counted. And here we go. Sure enough, Gideon Black. They're thinking about holding back Soul Wardens.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I'm curious what
is Rastaf? Oh, Rastaf is playing around Archmage Charm, I guess. They don't want
could be. Yep.
don't want Soul Warden stolen and then jumping in front of Soul Warden or whatever. I don't think that is like the creatures would be tapped, so there wouldn't be a block there. But I can respect playing around it. Sure enough, Portable Hole comes down. Folks, that one's a good card. I think Teferi's going to come down as well. Tuck that Gideon away.
I think that's exactly what needs to happen there.
Yeah. And now it is looking pretty difficult for Rastaf. This is... I can tell you I'm glad I'm sitting on this side of the table right now.
Exactly. So Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is now live and online, and Lukas now has the ability to also shock in at Steam Vents, play out the Hullbreaker Horror, or discover the formula. But they can do that whenever they'd like. So,
yeah, folks,
no rush.
Discover the Formula is a really powerful, gigantic sorcery. It feels like a sorcery.
It feels like it should be a sorcery.
It does really powerful things. But make no mistake, folks, it's an instant. And let me tell you, the difference was never more stark. It is a powerful card, and I think it's about to do some serious work here. Sure enough, Hullbreaker Horror comes down, and 6 life is not very many life, but it is likely enough as Discover the Formula gets fired off. Main phase going to bounce a Pridemate token, add 3 really, really good cards to hand.
The Hullbreaker Horror is going to crack on that Ajani. Oof.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And Lucas has Archmage Charm up.
For sure. Folks, we would like to thank you, all of you wonderful folks, for the subs and the follows. Just want to put that out there.
Absolutely.
Definitely appreciate all of the chat interaction, folks. Turns out when you tuck cards with Teferi, they eventually show back up. Is that a blessing right now? I don't know. Gideon's a great card, but just going to die.
Yeah, it was a great card in the early game. There's no question about that. You know, it did get Lucas down to 6, which is very, very meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to win the game as Rastaf, you eventually got to reduce Lucas's life total to 0, but does Rastaf have a chance? Has the game reached a point where Rastaf it is now out of reach?
I mean, I see Tef and a Hullbreaker Horror and a full grip of cards versus 5 land and 2 cards with no combo pieces on the board. I mean, I would be shocked if Rastaf can pull this off.
I agree. Absolutely underdog here. Trying to craft a scenario. Easy to say. Oh, just get the combo. Problem is,
right.
Yeah, okay.
And Rastaf sees it, and I can't blame him. I cannot blame him at all.
And with Hullbreaker Horror out, just the whole thing gets so much harder.
Absolutely.
Brutal. But that said, that was a fantastic finals and right down to the wire. I'm not gonna lie, there for a hot minute, it was feeling a little bit like maybe the company player might come away with it, just jamming turn after turn after turn, you know?
Yeah, it was looking good. It was looking good until Lucas was able to set that up and yeah, really hold it down. I gotta say, and that was a really solid game 3. Just well played by all of our competitors, and congratulations, Lucas, for taking down this tournament today. Just huge congratulations. That was well played by all of our competitors. Beautifully done. And everybody, before we go, I just want to say a huge thank you to Hollywood Pizza, the staff behind the scenes that make all this possible. John, thank you, my friend, for joining me in the booth today. This has been an absolute delight.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you, of course, to our sponsors, our partner with MTG Melee. Huge thank you to them as well. And huge thank you to the comic book store, comicbookstore.tcgplayerpro.com, for all of your magical needs. Please check them out. We appreciate it. Also, we are going to throw a raid out. So please, if you have been enjoying the stream, hang out for a minute. We're going to throw you over to another phenomenal Twitch personality who's going to be continuing their own party tonight. And so please don't hesitate. Please stick around for that. We would appreciate it very, very much if you would come along with us and say hi. So huge thank you to everybody here in chat. Thank you to all of our competitors. Yeah, and have a phenomenal night, everybody.
For sure. Also, check out Hamhocks.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
On Twitch. Twitch.tv.
And don't forget, John likes games. He likes games, and he likes to share games with people. So please check him out as well. Yeah, don't hesitate to drop that follow. You'll be glad you did.